Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating spiritual framework from 2010, created by an author named Shu Feng. We'll be breaking down what he calls the non-material structure of life. Basically, it's a highly specific roadmap featuring 8 celestial standards that you supposedly need to meet to elevate your soul. It's a profound look into a system that really challenges our everyday, normal human behaviors and makes us question what it truly means to reach a celestial state. So let's just get right into it.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. We're going to start by defining what the 1,000-year world actually is. Then we'll look at the return to innocence, talk about finding harmony with all things, breaks down the ideal inner emotional state, and finally wrap up with how to reach that first major milestone. All right, Section 1, the 1,000-year world, our celestial destination. Now, what's really interesting here is this concept of relative perfection. The source text is super clear about this absolute perfection. It doesn't actually exist. Instead, different levels of beings have different standards of what perfection looks like for their specific non-material structure. So, the 1,000-year world is described as this incredible celestial realm of absolute happiness and joy, but it has a very strict barrier to entry. To even be eligible to live there, you've got to achieve 8 specific standards that prove your non-material structure has reached this required level of relative perfection. Let's see what those standards actually are. Moving on to Section 2, the return to innocence, becoming childlike and shameless.
This part brilliantly illustrates the text's first major concept. The framework actually quotes Jesus to drive home a vital point about our inner nature. We literally have to eliminate the feeling of shame completely. The author brings up the story of Adam and Eve, pointing out that in the very beginning they were nude and totally shameless in the Garden of Eden. It was only when they developed a sense of shame that they got kicked out to live on earth. So, to return to a celestial state, the text argues that we have to follow our uninhibited nature, exactly like little children do. It likens this completely unfettered, shameless existence to the state of Buddhahood, basically just letting your true, authentic nature be on full display.
The absolute crucial point here is that this return to childhood isn't just about ditching your shame, it's actively about embracing joy. A strict celestial requirement is that you must be innocent, as artless as a child, and highly capable of playing and entertaining. Why? Well, because the 1,000-year world is literally defined as a place of happiness and joy. The text doesn't pull any punches here. If you're too stiff, too serious, and just can't reach the state of artless playfulness, you simply will not be able to live in the 1,000-year world. You genuinely have to know how to have fun. Okay, Section 3, harmony with all things, which is all about unity with nature. The standard of harmony outlined here requires an extreme, honestly almost radical level of environmental and biological unity. We're not just talking about respecting nature. You are required to become one with heaven and earth. The framework specifically dictates that you have to view even a single blade of grass or a random piece of wood as a true friend. You must coexist harmoniously with absolutely everything around you. And under zero circumstances can you ever hurt an insect, a bird, or any life form whatsoever. It's a total 100% integration into the natural world. When we put our worldly traits side by side with these celestial traits, the contrast is pretty wild. Think about our everyday human lives. We constantly differentiate, we own property, we feel possessive over the people we love, we get jealous, and we're always comparing ourselves to our peers, right? But to reach the 1,000-year world, the text demands absolute selflessness from us. You have to own nothing and possess no one. Instead of jealousy, you offer only praise and love. And perhaps the most challenging part of the whole shebang, you're expected to be totally worry-free, to view literally everywhere you go as your home, and to treat complete strangers exactly the same way you would treat your own family. Let's look at Section 4, the ideal inner state, or achieving perfect emotional health. According to the text, the ideal candidate for this celestial realm has to be 100% mentally and emotionally healthy. You're expected to be perpetually positive and optimistic, harboring absolutely zero negative feelings. But what's really fascinating to me is how this pairs up with humility. You must remain completely ordinary and keep a totally low profile. You can't feel lower than anyone, but you also can't feel nobler than anyone. There's no superiority and no inferiority. You just adapt to any circumstance, never acting out of bravado, and you completely strip away any desire to manage, pick on, or control other people. In this state, you literally do not even know what hatred or discontentment feel like. So how does this actually play out in everyday practice? The text says, "You do what you like, but within boundaries. You are free and unrestrained, but even-tempered." There's a super interesting caveat here. Being even-tempered, agreeable, and free does not mean you're a doormat. The framework explicitly states that you should never just swallow insult and humiliation silently, and you shouldn't allow your will to be abused either. Instead, your boundaries come from a place of deep reverence. You hold those boundaries by revering the greatest creator, life, and nature, all while sticking to your values, loving all creatures, and always, always remaining grateful. Which brings us to Section 5, reaching the first milestone and becoming a celestial. Fulfilling all 8 of these incredibly demanding standards, from giving up all your worldly possessions to achieving literally perfect emotional health, isn't actually the end of the journey. Believe it or not, according to the text, if you ascend to these 8 standards, you've merely hit the first milestone. By pulling this off, you step into the group of celestials and finally become eligible for the 1,000-year world. But from there, from this brand new celestial baseline, you can continue to self-cultivate and qualify for even higher realms, which the text specifically names as the 10,000-year world and the Elysium world. So it's really an ongoing, infinite ladder of spiritual growth. As we wrap up this explainer on the non-material structure of life, I want you to take a second to reflect on your own daily existence, your habits, and the things you're attached to. If you were to attempt this spiritual roadmap today, which of those 8 celestial standards would be your biggest hurdle? Would it be treating every single stranger like family? Letting go of all jealousy and comparison? Or maybe it's entirely letting go of that adult shame so you can return to the pure playfulness of a child? It's definitely a fascinating lens through which to view our human nature. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the source material. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.